over the individual. In the world of ants, there are no individual heroes. Every ant is part of something larger. They willingly sacrifice personal gain for the survival. Part 1. The origin of ants. When the world belonged to dinosaurs. Around 140 million years ago, when Earth still trembled under the footsteps of giant dinosaurs, something almost invisible was quietly emerging beneath the surface of the planet's history, the earliest ancestors of ants. At the very beginning, ants were not social creatures. Their ancient ancestors evolved from a group of primitive insects similar to early wasps. These creatures lived solitary lives, hunted alone, and relied solely on individual strength to survive in a harsh and competitive world. The most compelling evidence comes from ant fossils preserved in amber. By studying these ancient remains, scientists discovered that early ants had longer and harder bodies than modern ants, large, powerful jaws designed for direct hunting, almost no signs of social behavior. In other words, early ants were simply small insects struggling to survive, day by day, in a dangerous prehistoric environment. However, nature never stands still. As flowering plants began to spread rapidly across the planet, Earth's ecosystems changed dramatically. Food sources became richer, but competition became fiercer. In this shifting world, some ants began to display unusual behaviors. Instead of fighting constantly, they tolerated one another, stayed closer together, and gradually learned to coexist. This subtle change marked the first spark of social life, a tiny evolutionary step that would eventually transform ants into one of the most successful organisms on Earth over the next hundreds of millions of years.
After a long period of solitary existence, ants entered the most critical turning point in their evolutionary history, learning how to live together. This was not a sudden decision, but the result of millions of years of trial, error, and natural selection. As environments became more complex, solitary ants faced constant threats, larger predators, unstable food sources, and harsh climates. In this challenging world, individuals that tolerated the presence of others had a better chance of survival. At first, cooperation was very simple, sharing the same shelter, avoiding unnecessary conflict, temporarily sharing food resources. Yet these small behaviors opened the door to a completely new path. Early ant groups gradually realized a powerful truth. Living together saved energy and increased survival chances. Over time, roles began to differentiate. Some individuals specialized in reproduction, while others focused on foraging, nest building, and defense. This marked the birth of a true insect society, rare in nature, but extraordinarily efficient. Remarkably, ants achieved this without a central leader. Their coordination relies on pheromones, invisible chemical signals. One scent marks a food trail, another signals danger, others help ants recognize nest mates. Through this simple yet precise communication system, thousands of ants can act as a single, unified organism. Each tiny individual becomes part of a collective intelligence, where the survival of the group outweighs individual instincts. This silent social revolution transformed ants from ordinary insects into one of the most successful life forms on Earth. Part 3. Collective Intelligence. When thousands of tiny brains become one great mind. If you observe a single ant, you may find it unimpressive. It is tiny, fragile, and has an extremely simple brain. An individual ant cannot plan far ahead, understand strategy, or lead others. Yet something extraordinary happens when thousands of ants come together. At that moment, the colony is no longer a group of separate individuals. It becomes a superorganism, a living system in which each ant functions like a cell. The colony behaves like a complete organism. Ant intelligence does not reside in individual brains, but in the connections between them. When an ant discovers food, it does not give commands. Instead, it leaves behind a pheromone trail. Other ants passing by will detect the scent, follow the trail, reinforce it with their own chemical signals. Paths leading to richer food sources accumulate stronger pheromone signals, and the colony naturally selects the most efficient route, often the shortest one. No planning, no maps, yet the solution is remarkably effective. This phenomenon has amazed scientists for decades. Ants solve complex problems using very simple rules. Thanks to collective intelligence, ants build extraordinarily complex nests, multi-level tunnel systems, chambers for larvae, food storage rooms, natural ventilation shafts that regulate temperature. All of this is achieved without blueprints or architects. Each ant follows instinct and chemical cues, yet together they create a system that operates with astonishing precision. Some ant species go even further, farming fungi as a primary food source, herding aphids for their sweet honeydew, protecting their livestock as fiercely as their own nest. Behaviors once thought to be uniquely human were mastered by ants tens of millions of years earlier. Part 3 reveals a profound truth of nature. Intelligence does not always require a large brain. Sometimes it emerges from perfect cooperation among very small beings.
Part 4. Evolutionary Explosion. When ants conquered the planet. After mastering social organization and collective intelligence, ants entered the most spectacular phase of their evolutionary journey, an explosion in numbers, species diversity, and global distribution. This was the moment when ants stopped merely surviving and began quietly dominating the Earth, a golden opportunity after the age of dinosaurs. When dinosaurs went extinct, ecosystems across the planet were thrown into chaos. For ants, however, this disruption became a golden opportunity thanks to their small body size, rapid adaptability, flexible social structures. Ants quickly filled ecological gaps left behind by larger animals. Their expansion was both swift and relentless. The rise of extraordinary diversity. From a single evolutionary lineage, ants diversified into tens of thousands of species, each perfectly tuned to its environment. Desert ants endure extreme heat. Rainforest ants thrive in high humidity. Cold region ants survive short active seasons. Urban ants adapt to life alongside humans. Today, ants inhabit every continent except Antarctica, an achievement few organisms can match, masters of survival in the human world. As humans built cities, cleared forests, and altered climates, many species disappeared. Ants, however, did not retreat. They adapted. Some species learned to nest inside walls and foundations, exploit human food, waste travel across continents through global trade routes. Certain invasive ant species have even reshaped local ecosystems, demonstrating just how powerful their expansion can be. The biological weight of ants, one astonishing fact stands out. If all the ants on Earth were combined, their total biomass could rival or even exceed that of humans. This means that despite their tiny size, ants, as a collective, represent one of the planet's greatest biological forces. Part 4 makes one thing clear. Ants do not need size to conquer the world. They succeed through adaptation, cooperation, and relentless expansion. If ants were to disappear one day, Earth would not collapse overnight. But over time, ecosystems would begin to unravel. Because ants are not merely background creatures. They are silent workers that keep the natural world functioning. Every day, millions of ants dig, tunnel, and transport soil, creating vast underground networks. Through this activity, soil becomes better aerated, water penetrates more evenly, beneficial microorganisms thrive. In many regions, soils inhabited by ants are richer and more fertile, supporting healthier plant growth. Without machines or technology, ants have been performing this service for tens of millions of years. Few people realize that ants are among the most important seed dispersers in nature. Many plants produce seeds with nutrient-rich attachments that attract ants. Ants carry these seeds back to their nests, consume the nutritious parts, and discard the seeds in protected, organic-rich environments. As a result, seeds germinate more successfully, young plants face fewer predators, forests regenerate naturally. Without wings or speed, ants quietly plant forests one seed at a time. Ants are highly effective predators in the insect world. They hunt agricultural pests, consume dead organisms, keep many species in ecological balance. By doing so, ants help prevent destructive population explosions. They serve as a natural control system that humans struggle to replicate. Dead leaves, insects, and organic debris are all collected and broken down by ants. This process returns nutrients to the soil, reduces biological waste, sustains the cycle of life. No spotlight, no recognition. Yet without ants, nature would become slower, heavier, and far less balanced. Ants do not live only for themselves. They are quietly sustaining life on Earth. After hundreds of millions of years of evolution, ants have not built monuments like pyramids, nor written history in words. Yet their quiet persistence has become one of nature's most powerful lessons. Strength is not about size. A single ant can be crushed in an instant, but an ant colony is remarkably resilient. Nature teaches us a simple truth. True strength does not come from how big you are, but from how well you are connected. Ants survive not because they overpower others, but because they stand together. Persistence is the secret of longevity. Ants do not rush. They move in small, repetitive steps, day after day. No noise, no display, yet they never stop. This persistence allows ants to survive mass extinction events, adapt to extreme climates, coexist with humans across all eras. The collective over the individual. In the world of ants, there are no individual heroes. Every ant is part of something larger. They willingly sacrifice personal gain for the survival of the colony because they understand one essential rule. The individual survives only if the community survives. This principle has kept ant societies stable for tens of millions of years. A mirror for humanity. By observing ants, humans are invited to reflect. Do we cooperate as effectively as we could? Do we truly listen to one another as ants respond to pheromone signals? Do we prioritize collective well-being over short-term personal gain? Ants do not teach us to be small. They teach us humility, connection, and endurance. Final thoughts. Ants remind us that you do not need to be great to create value. With persistence, cooperation, and shared purpose, even the smallest beings can change the world. If you bend down and see an ant carrying a crumb of food, you might think, just a tiny creature, acting purely on instinct. But the truth is this, right beneath your feet, an entire society may be thriving, far more complex than you ever imagined. An ant nest is not a random hole in the ground. It is a precisely structured construction built little by thousands, sometimes millions, of individuals. Inside an ant nest, you will often find nursery chambers, where eggs and larvae are cared for like newborns. Food storage areas, supplies saved for harsh conditions. The queen's chamber, deeply hidden and heavily protected. Waste zones, garbage and dead bodies are kept far from living spaces. Tunnel systems, designed for ventilation, drainage, and structural stability. What's truly astonishing is this. There is no blueprint, no architect, no commander giving construction orders. And yet, the nest is durable, efficient, and astonishingly well designed. A human society without rules collapses. For ants, the same principle applies. To survive, an ant society must have clear division of labor, strict organization, individuals who are not free to choose their roles, but are born into them. From the moment they are larvae, ants are biologically guided toward a destiny, to become a queen, or a worker, or a soldier, or a male ant. No competition, no rebellion, no questions asked. In the world of ants, the survival of the individual always comes second to the survival of the colony. This is what amazes scientists the most. No king, no government, no central command. And yet, millions of ants move in perfect order, coordinate seamlessly, respond instantly to danger. The secret lies in chemical signals called pheromones. Each ant leaves scent trails as it moves, detects chemical messages from others, reacts to smells, not spoken commands. A single ant is not intelligent, but the colony as a whole is. This phenomenon is known as collective intelligence, when many simple individuals create an extraordinary system. In an ant society, if no one removes waste, disease spreads rapidly. If no one cares for larvae, the next generation disappears. If no one defends the nest, the colony is wiped out. No role is unnecessary. No individual is meaningless. Each ant needs only to perform its role correctly, and the colony survives storms, disasters, predators, and time itself.
Part 2. The Queen Ant, the silent heart of the entire kingdom. If the ant nest is a living city, then the queen ant is not its ruler, but the single life source that allows the city to endure over time. Many people imagine the queen as a powerful monarch commanding millions of ants. Science tells a very different story. The queen does not lead, she sustains life. The queen does not give orders. She does not forage. She does not build. Her one and only role, reproduction. A queen can lay hundreds to thousands of eggs each day. Every ant in the colony is her offspring. This creates an extremely strong biological bond within the colony. The queen is essentially the living engine that sustains the entire society. The extraordinary lifespan of a queen ant. While worker ants live only months. Soldier ants live a few years. Queen ants can live 10 to over 30 years, depending on the species. If the queen dies, the colony loses its ability to reproduce. The population slowly declines. And eventually, the society collapses. A life spent deep inside the nest. After mating, the queen loses her wings, retreats deep into the nest, and rarely ever leaves again. She lives in a special chamber, heavily protected, constantly fed and cleaned by worker ants. Her entire energy is devoted to continuous egg production. Control through hormones, not commands. The queen influences the colony through chemical hormones, not orders. These hormones prevent workers from reproducing, maintain social stability, keep each ant aware of its role. When the queen weakens or disappears, social order begins to break down. Internal conflict can arise. This proves one thing: the queen rules not by power, but by biology. The birth of a queen. Every queen begins as a normal larva. The difference lies in nutrition and hormonal development. During the mating season, young queens take flight, mate a mirror, and attempt to found new colonies. Thousands are born. Only a few survive to build a new kingdom.
If the queen is the silent heart, then worker ants are the living body of the entire kingdom. Without workers, an ant colony is nothing more than an idea that never becomes reality. Worker ants make up 90 to 95% of the colony's population. They do not reproduce, hold no titles, rarely receive recognition. Yet they are the builders, caretakers, providers, and daily sustainers of life. In ant society, workers are not the lowest class. They are the foundation. Worker ants are female, but biologically unable to reproduce. This is not a choice, but the result of queen hormones and larval nutrition. In the world of ants, workers are born to work. There is no alternative path, no individual ambition. Value is defined by contribution, not reproduction. Worker ants construct the nest. They dig tunnels, reinforce walls, expand chambers, regulate airflow and humidity. Without blueprints or commanders, they create structures that are durable, efficient, and adaptive. Millions of small actions become one perfectly functioning system. Workers search for food and transport it back. They explore vast areas, mark trails with pheromones, share information instantly. When one ant finds food, it feeds the entire colony, not itself. This is not kindness. This is collective survival. Workers tend to eggs, larvae, pupae. They clean, move, feed, and protect them. Without workers, the next generation cannot survive. Workers also remove waste, isolate sick ants, dispose of dead bodies. Cleanliness is survival. A dirty nest is a doomed nest. A single worker ant has a tiny brain, but as a group, they make precise decisions, adapt rapidly, solve complex problems. This is collective intelligence, where coordination outweighs individual thinking.
If worker ants build life, then soldier ants are the ones willing to die for it. They do not forage. They do not raise larvae. They do not build. They exist for one purpose only: to fight. Soldier ants are built differently. Oversized heads, massive, steel-like mandibles, thick, armored bodies. Every trait serves a single mission: stop intruders before they reach the nest. They do not choose this role. It is biologically programmed from the larval stage. A vibration, a strange scent, an unfamiliar movement. Alarm pheromones are released within seconds. Instantly, workers retreat. Larvae are moved deeper inside. Soldiers rush to the front. No discussion, no fear, no delay. Their reaction is faster than thought. Fierce battles erupt daily at colony entrances. Soldiers lock their mandibles onto enemies. Some species spray burning acid. Others sacrifice themselves to block invasion routes. Many soldier ants know they will die, yet charge forward anyway. In ant society, the death of one is an acceptable cost for the survival of all. In some species, soldier ants possess flat, shield-like heads. When attacked, they wedge themselves into the nest entrance, turning their bodies into living doors. Nothing gets through, but retreat is impossible. One position, one mission, one life. There are no generals, no shouted orders. Yet soldier ants know when to advance, when to hold, when to sacrifice, all guided by chemical signals and collective instinct. Alone, a soldier ant is simple. Together, they form a ruthless, precise defense force. Soldier ants live shorter lives than queens and face far greater danger than workers. But every moment of their existence has meaning, defense, no recognition, no legacy, just survival for the colony.
In ant society, there is one group rarely remembered. They do not build. They do not forage. They do not defend. Yet the genetic future of the entire species depends on them. They are male ants, born only to leave. From the moment they emerge, male ants carry a different destiny. They have no lasting role, no place in daily colony life. They are born not to belong, but to depart. They grow quickly, waiting for one single moment in their entire existence. The fateful flight, a wedding in the sky. When the breeding season arrives, often after warm rain, thousands of males and young queens rise into the air. This is not a journey. It is a final departure. No return, no second chance. Mating and death by design. In a brief moment in the sky, a male mates with a young queen, transfers all his genetic material, completes his sole purpose, and then, exhausted, he falls to the ground and dies alone. No return to the nest, no care, no remembrance. This death is not an accident. It is nature's design. One life, one chance. Unlike queens who live decades, or workers who labor for years, a male ant lives briefly, has only one chance to matter. Failure means nothing remains. Success means his genes live on, through an entire new kingdom. Bodies on the ground. After the mating flight, the ground is scattered with dead males. No one collects them. No one mourns. Yet in evolution, this is not tragedy. It is ruthless efficiency. Nature remembers only continuation. A haunting truth. Some lives exist only to fulfill a single moment. But that moment is enough to shape the future of a species. Male ants leave no monuments, no glory. They leave life itself.
When we look at a single ant, it appears fragile, simple, and limited. But when we observe an entire colony as one unified system, we are witnessing one of the most astonishing phenomena in biology: collective intelligence. In human societies, there are leaders, laws, central control systems. In ant societies, there is no king, no general, no central brain. Yet the colony can make accurate decisions, adapt rapidly, respond effectively to sudden environmental changes. The answer is simple but profound. No single ant is intelligent, but the colony is. Ants do not communicate with sound. They communicate through pheromones, chemical signals. Every action leaves a trace. Finding food, laying scent trails, detecting danger, releasing alarm pheromones, needing help, emitting aggregation signals. Each ant reacts only to the signals it senses, but thousands of tiny reactions combined into large-scale decisions. No commands, no long-term planning, only constant feedback with the environment. When facing choices such as, which path is shorter? Which food source is better? Which exit is safer? Instead, they explore multiple options, reinforce successful paths with stronger pheromone trails, gradually abandon less efficient choices. The result: the colony selects the optimal solution even though no single ant understands why. This principle is known as decentralized optimization. Thanks to collective intelligence, ants have survived for over 100 million years, adapted to deserts, rainforests, and modern cities, become one of the most abundant biomasses on Earth. Ants are not powerful as individuals. Ants are powerful because of coordination. Lose one ant, The colony endures, lose coordination. The society collapses. Today, humans study ants to design artificial intelligence systems, optimize traffic and logistics networks, develop swarm robotics, solve complex problems without centralized control. Ants achieved all of this millions of years before humans ever existed. Power does not come from great individuals. Power comes from correct connections among ordinary ones. In ant society, queens reproduce, workers labor, soldiers sacrifice, males disappear, but collective intelligence binds them all together. It is the true soul that allows the society to survive, evolve, and endure. Ants teach us that you don't need to be extraordinary to be valuable. You don't need to lead to make an impact. You only need to be in the right role and cooperate effectively. A tiny individual can help create a truly great society. If a powerful microscope were placed beneath your feet right now, you wouldn't just see soil, sand, or roots. You would discover a living city, a hidden world where thousands of tiny creatures are working, training, and preparing for battle. This is the ant colony, one of the most sophisticated social systems in nature. An ant nest is far from simple. Beneath the ground lies a network of winding tunnels like a maze. Specialized chambers for larvae, food storage, and the queen. Every centimeter of the nest is designed for defense and survival. In the world of ants, every individual has a clear role, the queen. She does not command or fight, but her survival determines the fate of the entire colony. Worker ants, the most numerous group. They dig tunnels, gather food, care for larvae, and can even rebuild the nest after destruction. Soldier ants, true warriors with powerful jaws. Their single mission is to defend the colony at all costs. There are no lazy ants. One failure can put the entire system at risk. Individually, ants are not intelligent like humans, but together, they make remarkably accurate decisions. Their secret is collective intelligence. Ants communicate through chemical signals called pheromones, antenna-to-antenna contact, and scent trails that guide and warn others. When one ant detects danger, it releases an alarm scent, and within seconds, an army is ready. From birth, some ants are biologically shaped to become soldiers. Strong, oversized jaws, tougher bodies, rapid reactions to danger signals. They do not feel fear. They know only one truth. If the colony survives, they survive. If it falls, they fall with it. And that's when we realize something astonishing. Though small enough to be crushed by a careless step, ants live in a world of discipline, strategy, and constant readiness for war. Most of the time, an ant colony is peaceful. Workers carry food. Larvae are carefully tended. Everything runs with clock-like precision. Then suddenly, an unfamiliar step touches the colony's border. A strange scent drifts into the tunnels. It takes only one abnormal signal for everything to change. Ants don't scream. They don't panic. They act with scientific precision. A guard ant freezes for a split second, raises its abdomen, releases an alarm pheromone into the air. The signal is invisible, but it spreads faster than sound. Within seconds, the message reaches the entire colony. Danger! An intruder is here. Something extraordinary happens next. Worker ants retreat, protecting the larvae. Soldier ants rush toward the threat. Nest entrances are narrowed or blocked. There is no commander, no spoken orders. Yet every ant knows exactly what to do. This is collective intelligence, thousands of tiny beings acting like a single organism. Soldier ants create a living barrier at the nest entrance, jaws wide open, antennae tense, bodies aimed directly at the enemy. Some species even use their bodies to seal entrances, lock together to form living walls, sacrifice themselves to buy time for the colony. For ants, retreat is not cowardice. It is strategy for survival. If the intruder advances further, battle becomes inevitable. But before the first bite, before the first sacrifice, ants teach us an important scientific lesson. War does not begin with strength. It begins with information and coordination. And once the alarm is sounded, it is no longer a single ant standing there, but an entire army awakening. When the intruder refuses to retreat, all other options vanish. In the ant colony, war officially begins. There are no battle cries, no drums, only the sudden, unified movement of hundreds of tiny warriors rushing toward a single point. Ants do not use guns or blades. their weapons are biological. Powerful mandibles lock onto the enemy like steel clamps, holding on beyond the opponent's endurance. Defensive acid, sprayed to cause pain, confusion, and force retreat. Grab, lock, pull tactics. One ant grips the head, another the legs, working together like a living machine. The key rule: ants never fight alone. Every bite is part of a collective plan. Science shows that ants don't need size to win. They rely on strategy. Attacking weak points, using numbers to exhaust the enemy, rotating fighters so the opponent never escapes. When one ant falls, another immediately takes its place. The battle does not stop because of fear. It ends only when the threat is eliminated. In every battle, some ants never return. They hold the enemy until their final moment, use their bodies to block nest entrances, sacrifice themselves to protect larvae and the queen. From a scientific perspective, this makes sense. An individual may be lost, but the colony's genes survive. For ants, sacrifice is not tragedy, it is survival strategy. Once the enemy is driven away, alarm pheromones fade. Worker ants repair the nest. Larvae are checked and cared for. Soon, the colony returns to perfect order, as if war had never happened. Yet one truth remains. Even the smallest creatures can become an unstoppable army when they act with unity and coordination. Not every fight involves just a few ants. Sometimes, entire armies collide. The ground seems to tremble. Thousands of tiny bodies surge forward like a living wave. This is no longer a minor conflict. This is a battle for survival. In large-scale battles, ants do not rush in blindly. They form structured battle lines. Soldier ants hold the front, absorbing the attacks. Worker ants support from behind, pulling wounded nestmates to safety. Stronger ants rotate into combat, keeping the front line intact. Brain scientifically, this is known as flexible role division in biological warfare. There are no lone heroes. Victory depends on perfect coordination. Amid the chaos, some ants are severely injured yet continue to grip the enemy, become surrounded but refuse to retreat, use their own bodies to block the enemy's advance. Crying face, they receive no medals, no memorials. Yet because of them, the larvae and queen remain safe. DNA science describes this as individual sacrifice for the survival of collective genes. The most astonishing element is not numbers, but unbreakable collective will. Even as many fall, the battle line does not collapse. The formation does not descend into chaos. Chemical signals maintain the rhythm of combat. For ants, retreat is not an option. There are only two outcomes: the enemy withdraws or is completely driven away. When the battle ends, the ground falls silent. Survivors begin to clear the battlefield. Wounded nestmates are carried back to the nest. There is no time for mourning. The cycle of life allows no delay, because life must go on. And in that quiet moment, we realize the true strength of ants lies not in jaws, acid, or sheer numbers, but in the spirit of living together, protecting together, surviving together.
The battle is over. The frantic movements stop. The sharp alarm scent slowly disappears. Inside the nest, silence returns, not as an ending, but as the beginning of recovery. Worker ants immediately get to work, repairing collapsed tunnels, reinforcing damaged entrances, clearing the battlefield to remove scents that could attract new enemies. Scientifically, this is a smart survival response. A damaged nest left unrepaired becomes an easy target. Speed of repair determines the colony's safety. Once the nest stabilizes, top priority goes to inspecting the larvae, moving them to safer chambers, adjusting temperature and humidity. Larvae represent the colony's future. If the next generation survives, the sacrifices of the fallen are not in vain. Ants do not remember like humans, but they remember through chemical traces. Dangerous areas are marked with scent, old paths may be abandoned, defensive strategies are adjusted for the future. Scientists call this collective-level learning. The colony becomes smarter after every battle. Before long, ants line up again to forage. New pheromone trails are laid, daily rhythms return. Without close observation, you would never know that this place was once a brutal battlefield. From ants, we learn war is not about destruction, it is about protection, In continuation, true strength lies in rising after loss. Small as they are, ants understand a powerful truth. To survive, one must recover and move forward.
Globe showing Europe, Africa from the world of ants to the world of humans. The war of ants has ended, but what they leave behind does not stay underground. Backhand index pointing right, it lives in the way we understand strength, unity, and how to overcome challenges together. Ants are small, yet their lessons are immensely powerful. Handshake unity, the greatest weapon. A single ant is weak, but a colony of ants can carry objects many times their own weight, build bridges with their bodies, defeat enemies far larger than themselves. Brain science calls this collective synergy. Backhand index pointing right, when each individual plays their role, backhand index pointing right, the whole becomes unstoppable. Direct hit, everyone has value in an ant colony. Not everyone is a warrior, not everyone stands on the front line, but no one is useless. Some dig tunnels, some care for larvae, some stand guard. Backhand index pointing right, every role matters. Sparkle's a powerful lesson for us all. You don't have to be like others to be valuable. Brain, what science learns from ants, not only children, but scientists learn from ants every day. By studying ants, humans have built swarm-based robots, designed smart traffic systems, developed artificial intelligence, inspired by collective behavior. Backhand index pointing right, all inspired by creatures. Backhand index pointing right, we often overlook. Seedling, the strength of never giving up. Ants are not strong because they never fall. They are strong because they rise after every battle, repair what is broken, continue living despite loss. Backhand index pointing right, this is true strength for ants and for humans alike. Glowing star, final message for you the next time you see a tiny ant crossing your path. Remember, and it comes from a world of discipline, sacrifice, perfect cooperation. Backhand index pointing right, small as they are, backhand index pointing right, together they achieve the extraordinary. And so can you. Glowing star.
Have you ever looked down at a single ant and wondered, how can such a tiny creature create a vast, orderly, and enduring society? The answer is not strength, it is not individual intelligence. It begins with the way ants reproduce. In the world of ants, reproduction is not a personal instinct, but a collective mission. An ant colony does not exist for individuals. Individuals exist for the colony. At the heart of everything stands the queen ant, the only being responsible for continuing life. She does not rule by command. She does not fight. She does not search for food. Her entire existence is devoted to a single purpose, creating life. But becoming a queen is not a privilege granted to all. Inside a typical ant nest, thousands, sometimes millions, of ants work tirelessly. Most of them will never reproduce. They accept a harsh biological truth. My existence is so that others may be born. This quiet sacrifice is the foundation of the ant's extraordinary power. When environmental conditions align, gentle rain, warm temperatures, humid air, the colony awakens. From deep underground, a special generation emerges, winged reproductive ants. The moment is silent, unnoticed by the world above. Yet it is a decisive turning point where the future lives of millions are placed at stake. Part 1 ends here, as the wings begin to tremble, signaling a flight that will change everything.
The fatal flight, the harshest reproductive moment in an ant's life. If part 1 was silent preparation, then part 2 is the explosion of destiny. On a very specific day of the year, the sky becomes a stage of life and death. From hundreds, even thousands, of ant nests, winged ants emerge simultaneously. Some behind small cloud, this is no coincidence. Ants wait for perfect conditions. High humidity, so wings do not dry out. Warm temperatures to allow long flights. Gentle winds to avoid being blown away. Backhand index pointing right, when everything aligns, the nuptial flight begins. 1. When the sky fills with tiny lives. Tens of thousands of ants take to the air at once. To humans, it looks like just a swarm of insects. To ants, it is the only chance to continue their species. Male ants are born for a single purpose, mating. They do not build nests. They do not gather food. They have no future. Broken heart after fulfilling their role, male ants die quickly. Their lives end at the very moment when new life begins. 2. The future queen, bearer of an entire colony's fate. Amid the storm of wings, female ants mate not once, but multiple times with different males. The sperm is stored inside their bodies and used for many years, sometimes decades. Pushpin, this is a biological miracle, one single flight, enough for a lifetime of reproduction. When mating is complete, the female descends to the ground. From that moment on, she is no longer an ordinary ant. Backhind index pointing right, she has become a future queen. 3. The price of reproduction, giving up the sky. The first thing a future queen does after the flight is break off her own wings. Scissors, this is not an accident. It is a biological decision. Wings are no longer needed. The age of flight has ended. A new life begins underground. The act resembles a silent vow. From this day forward, I no longer live for freedom, but for life itself. Backhind index pointing right part 2 ends here, as the future queen disappears into darkness, carrying within her body the seeds of an entire kingdom yet to be born.
After the fateful flight, the future queen disappears from the world of light. No guide, no protection, no help. She burrows alone into the soil, where the foundation of an entire kingdom will be built. The queen excavates a small chamber, just large enough to turn around. The entrance is sealed. Light is cut off. The outside world no longer exists. From this moment on, the queen never leaves the nest. She does not search for food. She does not encounter other creatures. Life enters its harshest phase, biological fasting. The queen lays her first eggs. But a crucial question arises: where does the energy come from? The answer is astonishing. The queen breaks down her now useless wing muscles, uses stored body fat, converts her own tissues into nutrition for her offspring. This is pure biological sacrifice, one body slowly diminishing so that many others may exist. The tiny eggs hatch into larvae. They have no legs, no eyes, no means of defense. Each life is entirely dependent on the queen. The queen licks the eggs to prevent fungal growth, feeds larvae with secretions from her mouth, regulates temperature using her own body. No sunlight, no sound, only persistent care and silence. After the pupal stage, the first ants emerge. They are smaller and weaker than normal workers. Scientists call them nenitic workers. Yet they open the nest for the first time, forage for food for the queen, care for the next generation. From this moment, the queen is no longer alone. A society has officially been born. This stage determines the survival of the entire colony. A weak queen leads to colony failure, harsh conditions lead to extinction, and success leads to a kingdom lasting decades. It all begins with a solitary being in darkness, believing that life is worth the cost. Part 3 ends here as the first worker footsteps echo, signaling that life has triumphed over darkness.
When the first workers appear, life is no longer fragile. From this point on, the colony enters a new phase: expansion, organization, and operation as a single living entity. Young worker ants begin leaving the nest in small groups. They learn to follow pheromone trails, memorize paths, carry food back to the nest. Each ant understands only a tiny fraction of the world, but together, the colony functions as if it has one shared brain. Scientists call this phenomenon collective intelligence. There are no commands, no maps, only chemical signals and astonishing consistency. As the population grows, the colony naturally differentiates. Workers forage, build, care for larvae soldiers, defend the nest, ready to sacrifice nurses, tend eggs, and pupae queen continues reproducing without rest. Remarkably, no one chooses their role, no one competes. Body structure and environment determine destiny. Each individual is born to do one job and to do it completely. Over time, the nest expands into tunnel networks, nursery chambers, food storage rooms, temperature and humidity control zones, all built with no blueprint, no engineers, no major errors, only millions of repeated actions. Though she is the reproductive center, the queen cannot survive without the colony, and the colony cannot exist without the queen. This is not a master-servant relationship, but a closed loop of survival. The colony sustains the queen creates the colony. When one link breaks, the entire system collapses. At this stage, ants teach us strength does not lie in individuals. Order can emerge without authority. A sustainable society begins with unconditional cooperation. The colony never asks, "What do I gain?" It only asks, "Does this benefit the colony?" Part 4 ends here, when the colony is no longer a collection of individuals, but a unified, living kingdom.
After rapid expansion, the colony enters what seems like a peaceful phase, stability and balance. Yet this is when the most dangerous challenges silently emerge. A healthy ant colony operates like a finely tuned machine. Workers forage steadily, nurses care for new generations, soldiers guard the entrances, the queen reproduces at a measured rhythm. Everything must remain in balance. Too many larvae lead to food shortages. Too few workers cause structural weakness. The life of a colony is a constant equation of balance. As colonies grow, they become targets. Predatory insects, birds and lizards, fungi and harmful bacteria, and natural disasters like floods, landslides, and heavy rain. A single breach in the defense system can cause the collapse of an entire kingdom within hours. At such moments, soldier ants willingly sacrifice themselves, using their own bodies to block entrances and protect the queen and larvae. The most frightening threat does not come from outside, but from within the nest. If the queen grows old, becomes ill, or stops laying eggs, the colony enters a crisis. Some species raise special larvae to become new queens, or slowly disintegrate, accepting the end of their life cycle. The fate of an entire society rests on a single life. During this phase, the colony does not expand. It does not seek new territory. Instead, it withdraws, conserves energy, and focuses on protecting the core of life. From the outside, everything seems still. Inside, life holds its breath. Ants teach us that growth is not always about moving forward. Sometimes survival means slowing down and holding firm. True resilience comes from endurance and adaptation. A colony is not strongest when it is largest, but when it protects what matters most. Part 5 ends here, in the tense silence of a tiny kingdom, standing at the edge between survival and disappearance.
Eventually, the storm passes. If the colony survives, there is no celebration, no victory cry. They simply continue living. Workers return to foraging. Larvae are fed once more. The queen quietly lays eggs in darkness. Seedling life continues not through glory, but through persistence. Years go by, and the queen grows old. The body that once created millions of lives begins to flow. The colony senses the change. Reproductive rhythms shift, pheromone signals weaken, order subtly transforms. Backhand index pointing out for some species, this is the time to prepare a new generation of queens or accept the end, allowing life to return to the soil. Globe showing Europe, Africa, no panic, no resistance, only a natural cycle completing itself. Most ant colonies are born in silence, exist unnoticed, and disappear without being remembered. Yet throughout their lives, they aerate the soil, enrich ecosystems, decompose organic matter, maintain ecological balance. Ant no metals are given to ants, but without them, the world would be far poorer. The reproductive journey and survival of ants offer simple yet profound lessons. Small blue diamond life is not measured by size, but by impact. Small blue diamond, not everyone is born to shine, but everyone has a role. Small blue diamond, a society endures only when the collective outweighs the ego. Seedling sometimes, a meaningful life is not about being remembered, but about helping life continue. The next time you see a tiny ant crossing your path, remember that behind it lies a fatal mating flight, a lonely queen, in darkness, millions of silent sacrifices. Backhand index pointing out the story of ants has no heroes and no villains. Only life, patient, resilient, and never giving up. Ants small enough to be overlooked, yet strong enough to support a world. Part 1. How many ants are there? An amazing secret of the tiny world. If one day you sit down in the yard and look closely at a tiny patch of ground, you may discover something magical. Backhand index pointing right, a whole world of ants working nonstop. Scientists tell us that, so far, more than 14,000 different species of ants have been discovered and named around the world. But that number is not the final answer. Many researchers believe that deep in forests, underground, on high mountains, or on remote islands, there are still thousands of ant species that humans have not yet discovered. Globe showing Europe, Africa, where do ants live? The answer is almost everywhere. In cool green forests deciduous tree, underground in dark soil seedling, on hot desert sun, in busy cities cityscape, and even right in our gardens or near our homes. Exclamation mark, only the freezing continent of Antarctica is a place where ants cannot survive. Exploding head of fact that amazes everyone. If we could gather all the ants on Earth and put them on a scale, their total weight could be backhand index pointing right equal to or even heavier than all birds and mammals combined. This means ants are very small ant, but their numbers are enormous. In some places, 1 square meter of land may contain thousands of ants, living and working quietly beneath our feet. Sibling, why are ants so successful and numerous? The secret lies in 3 important things. Ants live in colonies. They always help one another. Ants are extremely hardworking. They almost never stop working. Ants are great at adapting. Whether it is hot, cold, dry, or wet, they always find a way to survive. Backhand index pointing right thanks to these abilities, ants have lived on Earth for over 100 million years, far longer than humans. Glowing star, a small message for young readers. Never underestimate small things. The smallest creatures can create the greatest strength on Earth. Part 2. Inside an ant nest, a tiny city that never stops working. If we could shrink down to the size of a grain of rice and travel underground, we would be completely amazed. Because beneath the soil is not just dirt, but a busy and well-organized ant city. What is an ant nest like a city? An ant nest is far from simple. Inside it has entrances and exits for ants to go out and find food, tunnels like small roads, nursery rooms for baby ants, food storage rooms, and a special chamber for the queen. All of this is built only with soil, sand, and ant saliva, yet it is strong, smart, and very efficient. The queen ant, the heart of the colony. At the center of the nest lives the queen ant. Larger than the other ants, does not go out to find food, her main job is laying eggs every day. Some queen ants can live 10 to 30 years and produce millions of ants during their lifetime. Without the queen, the entire colony would slowly disappear. Worker ants, the hard-working builders. Worker ants make up the largest group in the colony, searching for food, building and repairing the nest, taking care of eggs and larvae, cleaning and protecting the nest. Though very small, each worker ant does its job seriously and tirelessly, never giving up. Soldier ants, the brave guards. In some species, there are also soldier ants. Large heads and strong jaws, guard the nest entrances, ready to fight when enemies attack. Thanks to soldier ants, the colony stays safe and protected. Baby ants, the future of the colony. Ant eggs develop into larvae, pupae, and finally adult ants. The baby ants are fed, kept warm, carefully cared for by worker ants. They are the future of the entire ant kingdom. A gentle lesson. An ant colony survives not because one ant is the strongest, but because everyone does their part well. When everyone tries their best, the whole team becomes strong.
Part 3. The most famous ant species in the world. There are tens of thousands of ant species on Earth, but some are especially well known for their unique abilities and behaviors. Let's meet the superstars of the ant world. Fire 1. Fire ants, small but extremely fierce. Fire ants are small and reddish-brown, but they are very aggressive. They fiercely protect their nests. Their sting causes a burning pang. They live in large, united colonies. Backhand index pointing right, fire ants teach us that size does not decide strength. Leaf fluttering inwind 2. Leafcutter ants, tiny farmers. Leafcutter ants are famous for carrying huge leaves compared to their bodies. They do not eat the leaves. They use them to grow fungus inside their nests. The fungus is their main food source. Seedling, they are among the smartest ants, practicing farming millions of years ago. Crossed swords 3. Army ants, The never-resting army. Army ants move in long marching lines, just like a real army. They have no permanent nest. They keep moving to find food. They hunt insects and small animals. Backhand index pointing right. When the army ants march, few creatures dare to stand in their way. 4. Carpenter ants. The architects of the forest. Carpenter ants build their nests inside wood or dead trees. They do not eat wood. They chew it to make tunnels and homes. They help decompose dead trees. Deciduous tree thanks to them. Forests stay healthy and renewed. Collision 5. Bullet ants. The most painful sting. Bullet ants live in tropical rainforests. They are relatively large ants. Their sting is considered the most painful among insects. The pain can last for many hours. Backhand index pointing right. Despite their fearsome reputation, bullet ants sting only when threatened. Glowing star lesson from part 3. Every ant species is different. Some are strong. Some are intelligent. Some are hardworking and patient. Backhand index pointing right. Diversity makes the ant world rich and balanced. At first glance, ants look very small and fragile. But hidden inside their tiny bodies are astonishing abilities that even humans admire and learn from. Incredible strength. A single ant can lift objects 10 to 50 times its own body weight, drag food much larger than itself, work together with other ants to move huge items. If humans had the strength of ants, we could lift a car with ease. Amazing navigation skills. Even after traveling far away, ants can find their way home accurately using sunlight. The Earth's magnetic field sent trails left by their nestmates. Even when paths change, ants can quickly find new routes. A secret language of sense. Ants do not communicate with sounds like humans. Instead, they use chemical signals called pheromones. With just a scent trail, ants can find food, detect danger, call for help. That's why ants always work in perfect coordination. Ants are smart architects. Ant nests are not built randomly. They are carefully designed to have natural ventilation systems, stay warm in cold weather, stay cool in hot weather, avoid flooding during heavy rain. Many modern human buildings are inspired by ant nest designs. Amazing collective intelligence. One ant may be tiny, but an entire colony can remember routes, remember food locations, recognize enemies. This is called collective intelligence, where many individuals work together to create powerful shared knowledge. Lesson from part 4. Ants are not strong because they are big, but because they know how to cooperate, know how to share, never give up. True strength does not come from size, but from working together.
Ants are not only hardworking inside their colonies, but also silent heroes of the earth. Without ants, nature would lose an essential helper. Ants, nature's soil workers. When ants dig tunnels and build nests, they constantly turn the soil, make it loose and well aerated, and allow air and water to reach deeper layers. This helps plant roots grow stronger and plants stay healthy. Tiny seed spreaders. Many ant species carry seeds back to their nests, eat the nutritious parts, and leave the seeds elsewhere to germinate. In this way, ants help forests and grasslands spread naturally. Controlling harmful insects. Ants hunt small insects and pests that damage crops. Thanks to ants, pest populations are kept under control, protecting plants and farms. Nature's cleanup crew. Ants feed on dead insects and small dead animals. This helps to clean the environment, reduce diseases, and recycle nutrients back into the soil. Nature stays clean and balanced because of them. Lessons for humans. For children and adults alike, ants teach us cooperation, hard work, and persistence, and that every individual matters. You don't need to be famous, just be useful. Message from part 5. Ants do not live only for themselves. They live to keep the earth in balance. After exploring the fascinating world of ants, we can realize something truly special. The smallest creatures often carry the biggest responsibilities on Earth. From deep forests to home gardens, from dark underground tunnels to sunny ground surfaces, ants do not seek praise, do not need attention, yet work tirelessly every single day. They build, care, protect, and maintain the balance of nature. Scientists describe the power of ants as collective intelligence, perfect cooperation, remarkable adaptability. Thanks to these traits, ants have survived for over 100 million years, overcoming climate change, natural disasters, and Earth's transformations. From ants, children learn that everyone has their own value, teamwork makes us stronger, persistence can create miracles. You don't have to be big to be important. For adults, ants remind us, never underestimate small contributions, dear part well, true strength comes from unity, not competition. If one day ants disappeared, soil would lose its fertility, plants would struggle to grow, ecosystems would fall out of balance. Protecting ants means protecting the earth. In nature, no living creature is small or meaningless. Take a moment to pause. Just for now, breathe in gently and breathe out slowly. Beneath your feet, in a place that seems quiet and still, there is a world that is moving. A tiny ant is walking, so small that if you don't bend down, you might never notice it. That little ant does not know it is small. It only knows how to keep going. Each step the ant takes is a heartbeat of life, not rushed, not hesitant. It does not compare itself to birds in the sky, nor does it feel sad for not being as big as an elephant in the forest. The ant teaches us the very first lesson of its life cycle. Simply existing is already enough. Maybe today you feel small. Maybe you think you are not good enough, not fast enough, not seen enough. But listen closely. An ant begins its life smaller than a speck of dust, yet it still becomes an important part of this world. The world does not ask you to be great right away. The world only asks you to begin to breathe, to live, to walk at your own gentle pace. Look at the ant carrying a piece of food larger than its own body. It does not complain. It does not give up. It quietly does what needs to be done. The life cycle of ants begins right here, with smallness, with silence, with the quiet belief that every living being is born for a reason. If today you feel like that little ant, smile softly, because you're standing at the beginning of a very beautiful journey. Now imagine this. Deep beneath the warm earth, where there is no noise, no harsh light, only a soft, comforting stillness holding everything. There, tiny ant eggs lie quietly. They do not move. They do not rush to grow. They do not worry about tomorrow. They simply are. This stillness is not emptiness. It is where life is being prepared, where something beautiful is quietly taking shape. Ant eggs teach us this gentle lesson. Growing does not always require effort. Sometimes, the most important thing is simply to rest. If you have ever felt like you haven't done anything yet, not good enough, not fast enough, not like others, remember the ant eggs. They do nothing at all, yet they are already precious. Around those tiny eggs, worker ants stay close. They care for them softly, protect them patiently, as if whispering, rest peacefully. When the time comes, you will grow. Sometimes in life, you also need to allow yourself to slow down, to feel safe, to trust that, even as time passes quietly, you are still growing. And then, one day, within the quiet of the earth, the tiny eggs slowly open. Ant larvae appear. They are soft. They are fragile. They are not yet ready to stand on their own in this world. Larvae do not search for food by themselves. They cannot protect themselves. They simply lie there and receive. Worker ants come close. They bring food. They clean. They stay patiently, day after day. No one rushes the larvae to grow faster. No one blames them for being weak. The whole colony understands this truth. To grow, one must first be loved. There are times when you are just like those ant larvae. You don't know what to do yet. You need help. You need someone to stay with you. And that is perfectly okay. Being loved does not make you weak. Being cared for does not make you less capable. Those gentle hands are quietly building strength inside you. With each passing day, the larvae grow a little more, slowly, naturally, at their own pace. Remember this, you don't have to do everything alone to become strong. Sometimes, The greatest strength is allowing yourself to be loved.
Then, a moment comes. The larva stops eating. It moves less. It enters a very special state. The ant pupa appears. From the outside, the pupa seems to be doing nothing at all. It lies still, very still, as if life has pressed pause. But listen closely. Inside that silence, a miracle is unfolding. Seedling, the body is changing. Legs are forming, jaws, antennae, strength, everything is being prepared quietly, unseen. The ant pupa teaches us a profound lesson. Backhand index pointing right. Silence does not always mean stagnation. Sometimes, silence means transformation. In life, there may be days when you don't want to speak, don't want to act, don't know where you are going. Those days are not failures. They are necessary pauses that allow you to become a new version of yourself. The worker ants remain nearby. They do not rush the pupa to grow faster. They simply protect and trust in time. Just like someone who truly loves you, they do not hurry you. They give you space. They trust that, blossom, you are growing in your own way. If today you feel slow, quiet, or not ready yet, remember the ant pupa. For in the deepest stillness, life is often preparing a beautiful change for you.
Part 5. Adult Ants. Every individual has value some efface. And then, one day, the silent shell gently opens. From the pupa, an adult ant emerges. No longer as fragile as a larva. No longer as still as a pupa. Now it is ready to step into the world. In an ant colony, no one is the same. There are worker ants that gather food, build nests, and care for the young. There are soldier ants that stand guard, protecting the colony from danger. There is the queen ant, quietly giving birth to new life. No role is greater than another. No task is insignificant. Every ant is necessary. Adult ants teach us a beautiful lesson. Backhand index pointing right, you don't need to become someone else to have value. You don't need to run as fast as others. You don't need to be good in someone else's way. You only need to do well what is right for you. Maybe you are someone who loves to help. Maybe you are someone who knows how to protect. Maybe you are someone who quietly creates something new. Whoever you are, your presence makes this world a little more complete. Seedling ants do not live only for themselves. They live for one another. And that is what makes the whole colony strong. When you find your role, confusion begins to fade. Peace begins to grow. Because you understand that, Blossom, you were not born to be great, but to be meaningful in your own way.
As the sun slowly sets, the ant colony keeps moving. Some ants are old, some have just grown. Some tiny lives are only beginning, resting quietly as eggs beneath the earth. No one asks, when does it end? Because for ants, life is never a stopping point. One ant leaves, but its footsteps remain in the nest. One generation closes, so another can open, softly, naturally, without sorrow. The life cycle of ants is not a story of loss. It is a story of continuation. Seedling. Just like your life, you grow from fragile beginnings. You pass through silent pauses. You learn to stand strong and then to give something good back to the world. And one day, you will become someone who creates safety for others, just as worker ants once protected their eggs. There is no need to rush, no need to fear time. Every stage you move through is quietly preparing you for the next. Ants do not live to be remembered by name, yet they make the soil richer, the forest stronger, the world more balanced. And so do you. If today you are tired, rest like an ant egg. If today you feel weak, receive love like a larva. If today you are quiet, trust your transformation like a pupa. If today you feel steady, live fully as an adult ant. Life does not ask you to become someone else. It gently whispers, Blossom, you are exactly where you need to be in the right moment of your own life cycle. Smile softly and keep walking like a tiny ant, carrying within you a very great journey.